Hey everyone, big news. My new book, Developing Mathematical Reasoning, the Strategies, Models, and Lessons to Teach the Big Ideas in Grades 3 to 5, is coming out in March. If you've been listening to the podcast and wondering how to put these ideas into action in your classroom, this book is packed with strategies, models, and the lessons you need.
Y'all, it covers addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division with whole numbers, decimals, and fractions, all focused on building reasoning, not just following algorithms.
You can pre-order now at bit.ly/capital DMR35 lowercase pre-order. Let me do that again. bit.ly/capital DMR35 lowercase pre-order. All right, let's dive in. Hey, fellow mathers, welcome to the podcast where math is Figureoutable. I'm Pam Harris, a former mimicker turned mather.
And I'm Kim Montague, a reasoner who now knows how to share her thinking with others. At Math is Figureoutable, we are on a mission to improve math teaching.
We know that algorithms are super cool human achievements, but y'all, they're terrible teaching tools because mimicking step-by-step procedures actually traps students into using less sophisticated reasoning than the problems are intended to develop.
In this podcast, we help you teach mathing, building relationships with your students and grappling with mathematical relationships.
We invite you to join us to make math more figure-outable. But Hey, Kim.
Hi.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Okay, so it's warming up a little bit. It's been kind of crazy cold this year.
Yeah, super cold.
Yay.
Can I tell you something I just thought about? It's like a podcast thing.
Okay.
So when you're talking is when I will make a noise or move something because
totally. Yep.
I just heard you moving while I was talking.
Well, you were talking. I waited until you were talking. I was like, "Oh, shift my chair. I'm not close to my microphone." Yep.
That's exactly what I thought you were doing because that part gets edited out.
I actually also moved. So when I do a virtual presentation, I have my cards. So I have those 5x7 cards.
Yeah.
Or 4x6, I don't know what size they are. Anyway, they're cards. And they sit on my microphone, like on the base.
Yeah.
Which means, anyway, so I moved the microphone closer. So while you were talking, I moved the cards, I moved the mic closer. Then I shifted my chair.
I knew it.
You heard the
shuffling. I heard the chair.
So now Craig's like, does that mean I cut it out? Do I not cut it out?
Oh, that'd be funny. Yeah.
Craig, I'll let you decide whether you.
We have told Craig that we need bloopers, right?
Oh, that's true.
That would be a mess.
I think the bloopers are just a mess. Yeah,
yeah.
That's the definition of a blooper.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim. Okay. So I had this really cool experience yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, last fall, I had a really cool experience that I was invited to present to ASSM, the Association of State Supervisors of Mathematics.
Yeah.
Pretty prestigious group to belong to. And so that was wonderful. They invited me back to do a virtual sort of follow-up session. And I did that yesterday. It was really cool. And one of the participants, who I'm a little embarrassed to say, I don't remember her name, so sorry, but she told a story about how she and her daughter will listen to our podcast episodes in the car, and that her daughter, after a couple of them, said something about, it was a Math Strat Chat episode, and the daughter was solving the problems, and she got in the car the next day and she said, "Are you listening to that Figureoutable podcast again?" So this is a shout out to Miriam for listening to the Math is Figureoutable podcast with your mom. Thanks for listening, and thanks for solving the problems with your mom. Making math figureoutable for yourself. Way to go.
That's so fun.
Said I'd give her a shout out. Mom gave me permission to use her name. So
that's very cool. I love how you do the kid's name, but not the mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm pretty sure it's because I was supposed to write down the mom's name because I could see it on Zoom, and I'm lame and didn't. But I did write down Miriam.
Well, way to go, Miriam. Okay, let's get into today. It is a really, really exciting time here at Math is Figureoutable. So many fantastic things. A year ago, Developing Mathematical Reasoning, Avoiding the Trap of Algorithms, the K-12 Anchor book, came out. That book was an amazing release. It's talking about how and what, big ideas about developing mathematical reasoning. And then last September 2025, the K2 book came out, the What to Go Now Do in Your Classroom K2 book. Mm-hmm. And now it is time, the one I've been most excited about, the 3.5 version is here. It's time.
It is here.
Yeah, it's, I think listeners know that I spent my teaching time in 3.5, 3.4.5. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, obviously, like I've seen the book,
You read the book.
and
You helped edit the book.
I I think this is such a gift to third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers. It's the anchor book, the one we just talked about, the K-12 book is so powerful for shifting your thinking. And now getting the 3-5 book gives so many supports and so much help to what to then go do. It's
In
it's
grades 3,
fantastic.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And coming from you, that is high praise because that is the land where you lived. And
Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate that. So the title, everybody, Developing Mathematical Reasoning, the Strategies, Models, and Lessons to Teach the Big Ideas in 3-5. And it is out. So I've been able to pre-order it for a hot minute, but it should be shipping when this podcast drops. Fingers crossed. Should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're super excited. It's been a lot of good work. If you have not yet looked at the K-12 anchor book that Kim just mentioned that came out a year ago, that is the book that many school districts across the country are using as their new book study. So definitely check that out. It is a uniquely K-12 book discussing math and math teaching from kindergarten through 12th grade. So make sure you check out that anchor book. But Kim, today, let's focus on the 3-5 focused book about developing mathematical reasoning.
Yeah. So before I buy a book, I go to the bookstore or get online. The first thing I do is flip to um, the beginning to say, what is in this book? What are the chapters? So let's dig
Do
into
you read the back? I'm curious.
what do you mean?
The back of the book? Like, do you read the
summary on the back cover?
I don't know. Yeah, like whatever's on the back cover. Do you read that?
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
Do you read the acknowledgments?
I mean, eventually if I buy it, but otherwise, no.
No? So okay, but eventually. So like if you read a book, do you read all of I saw a post the other day on social media where the author was like, who reads every single word in a book and who ignores all of the fine print?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like
if
a
it's somebody
personality
that I
type.
know that writes
Yeah.
it, then I'll read the acknowledgments. But
Okay.
regularly, not really.
Just a random, you don't care who they, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I do look at the table of contents because I want to get a feel for what's in the book.
Sure.
So, this book has 4 parts,
Mm.
and we're going to dig into what the parts are and what they're about. But I have a question for you before we even get into that.
Okay.
Can you tell me what is one favorite thing of yours in this book?
Yes. So I have to choose, but one thing that stands out when you just asked that right now is that we took a lot of effort and care in putting what we call problem string walkthroughs. So we take an actual video of a problem string that we've done with real kids, and that we have it on video, and we have the transcript, and we help you. What are you laughing about? Oh, real kids.
When you say real kids.
Not fake kids.
Not fake kids.
So we take that and we write it up in such a way to help teachers really get a feel for what the kind of math thing that we're advocating actually looks like and feels like and sounds like, and you get you get the perspective of that of the experience that so many of us don't have when we were kids. So like, when we were growing up in math classes, most of us had a very similar kind of same experience of what it meant to rote memorize and mimic. And so how can we know to do anything differently? Well, the best we can in a book, we did these, I don't know, there's got to be a better word, but sort of storylines where we really help you get a feel for the experience of what it means to really teach mathing and develop students as mathers, where they are doing the mental actions of mathing. So I'm really happy about that.
So you kind of unfold the problem string in the classroom as it's happening, and it's got some images, and it's got like what the teachers and students are saying, and there's some commentary about the teacher moves, like calling that out. So
exactly that. Yeah. Big, beautiful pictures of these great kids. And then for many of them, there's a QR code that you can actually then go watch the video. When you're reading, you can use the QR code to go actually watch the real video. So really, that is a favorite thing in the book.
Okay. Well, I felt like maybe you were going to say one more. No, it's because you said when I asked you right now.
Yeah. If I have to choose
a second,
if I have to choose another one, I will say that we often get asked questions about types of tasks and about models. And we've done a lot about that on the podcast and in different places. But this is one place where you can, if you teach grades 3, 4, and 5, where you can really get probably the most in-depth all together in one place sort of treatment about the types of tasks that we really like, that work really well, and then also models and modeling and what does it really mean to help students create mental maps in their heads like mathematicians have to use those to math. So I think that's another favorite. Yeah. Okay. And by the way, everything that I just said is also true of the K2 book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So this book has 4 parts. So I'm just let's just go through the parts. The first part is called setting the stage. What's in that particular?
Yes, thank you. So there's a preface and chapter 1 in that part that are really about developing mathematical reasoning. So again, you see the graphic that we talk about all the time that goes from counting strategies to additive thinking to multiplicative reasoning to proportional reasoning to functional reasoning, those hierarchical stages. It helps lay that groundwork again. In the K-12 book, we really dive into much more detail about all of those domains.
Yeah.
But for K2, we talk about that, but we also introduce the shark metaphor. So we've talked about the shark metaphor before on the podcast, right? Haven't we? Sure we have.
Yeah. For sure.
Never know where I've done what. But now it's in the book. And so you can actually see the autostereogram and see and hear that metaphor. If you haven't ever heard about that, we'll put in the show notes the episode where we talk about the shark metaphor and what it means to math. It's a really helpful way we found to really have a conversation about the mental actions that you used as a student versus the mental actions that we now know we can help students develop and how we can do that. So it really sets the stage, which is the name of the part, sets the stage for what to do to help students learn to math.
Yeah. I love that part is in that analogy is in the book, because when you are doing a book study with your team or with your school, you can really read that part together and then take the time to unpack what it means to you in a way that if you see you do that live, that, you have this movement in your mind. You're like, okay, I totally get what you're saying, but then it's gone. You can't revisit it and you can't kind of unpack it yourself maybe to your teammates. So I was really glad that you wanted to put that in the book.
Nice.
Part 2, developing additive reasoning.
Yeah, so consider grades 3, 5. What are the domains that we really are developing in 3, 5? Yeah. And the first one is additive reasoning. Even though we start developing additive reasoning in grades 1 and 2 with smaller numbers, less complicated numbers, in 3, 4, and 5, we really continue to develop additive reasoning. Some teachers might be like, I still got kids counting by ones. I know. And so we need to give you a help at getting kids out of counting strategies into additive thinking, and then with crazier, more complicated numbers. So bigger numbers, we deal with higher place values, but also decimals and some fractions. Helping some fractions and fractions. Both with the major addition strategies and also with the major subtraction strategies. So we dive into what are the major relationships that kids need to develop so that the major addition and the major subtraction strategies become natural outcomes. They're the things that occur to students when they see crazy numbers, and how to develop those. So problem strings to help students really develop those major addition and subtraction strategies.
Yeah. Sample problem strings that people can use in their classrooms.
Yeah, and speaking of QR codes, there's also QR codes throughout the book where you will, like we said before, you'll kind of see a problem string in action, and then it will say, for this major strategy, you can download kind of a cheat sheet to go try this problem string with your students. And we've given those throughout the book for all of the major strategies to help teachers really have, like you said, the things to go do. What can I now go try with my students and find success?
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to mention this, so I'm just going to mention it now, that one of the things I love kind of all throughout the book is that there are some call outs for tips. So I don't think you've said that yet, but when you're reading along, there's, you might have a question in your head and then you scan down and it's like you already know the things that people are going to ask, the tip or the, hey, heads up.
Yeah, we call it some of those frequently asked questions sections. Yep. And I think that's exactly, people have said they'll be reading and then all of a sudden they're like, but what about, and then the next, they'll frequently ask question, what about this? And then we have some answers. Yeah. It's, I'm glad. I'm glad that we were able to put those in all throughout the book. Cool.
Okay, so part 3 then, developing multiplicative reasoning.
Yeah, huge domain that starts in grades 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. That is the land of often what 3, 4, 5 teachers are thinking about, is that their job is really to develop multiplication and division. So we define multiplicative reasoning and give lots of examples, but then also what are the major relationships that lead to the major strategies, both for multiplication and for division, with whole numbers, with decimals, with fractions, really helping teachers. Let me just stay on fractions for a second. Both in additive reasoning and multiplicative reasoning, we dive into the 5 meanings of rational numbers that are really important. So shout out to Susan Lamont and her book, Teaching Fractions and Ratios for Understanding. We dive into those 5 meanings to help teachers really build the sense and meaning of fractions before they dive into operations, but also then diving into operations and how the major strategies are showing up in whole numbers and decimals and fractions, and really thinking about how multiplication is connected to division and the 2 meanings of division. So lots in those sections. That
heavy chapters.
Yeah, heavy chapters. The 3, 4, 5 teachers are going to really want to focus on and dive into and get a lot of help. I think one of the questions that we get asked really often, maybe especially from 4th and 5th grade teachers, would be, okay, but yeah, I can see how these strategies work for some numbers, for those nice problems that sure, I can use these strategies. But, for most problems, we're going to need the algorithm to be efficient, to be able to solve those problems. Well, I invite you to dive in and check out to see, actually, give me any problem that's reasonable to solve without a calculator. And with those major strategies that we develop in that part 3, well, and in part 2, addition and subtraction, multiplication, and division, give me any problem that's reasonable to solve without a calculator. And we've got a strategy that can get a solution as efficient as the traditional algorithms, but most of the time more efficient. And the best news is, while you're using that more efficient strategy, you're also developing either additive reasoning or multiplicative reasoning to be able to then continue to grow your math brain. So it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in here that, while these are you can go do in your classroom, it's also perfectly reasonable for teachers who want to grow their own numeracy to dive into these books and tinker and read and play with the relationships and the problem strings that you have. We always encourage people to just dive in and do what you feel comfortable with. But even if you don't feel fully ready, grab this book and start thinking about what you can use.
Well, and you're reminding me, one of our features in the book is a try this section. And so we'll talk about a bit, and then we'll say, try this, and we'll actually give you problems to solve. And if you're doing it with a book study group, all the better that you can talk about your strategy and how other people did it. Hey, one of the other things that are in both part 2 for additive reasoning and part 3 for multiplicative reasoning is also all the major models for each of which for this strategy, what model do you want to use and why? And so that's also in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier when you asked what parts of the book do I read, as I remembered the part 4 title, I was like, oh yeah, it is called Putting It All Together. And maybe I never even read that. You would think I know every word. Part 4, Putting It All Together. It's a great title.
Well, I'm glad you like it. That's excellent. You just skipped right over that when you were reading. That's funny.
Probably.
So yeah, how do we put it all together? We've given you this introduction. Now we've walked through what are the major models and strategies for additive reasoning and for multiplicative reasoning for grades 3, 4, and 5. Let's put it all together with a chapter on tasks. What are the kinds of lessons that you can use in your classroom? And this is where we parse out, and there goes my alarm to remind me.
Love it.
You hear that? So
I'm going
to take a med while we're
your phone talking. Likes the title too.
There you go. All right. So
that's hilarious.
Should we pause?
This is real life. This is real life.
Don't get old, everybody. When you have to take a med, it has to be so long.
Wait, don't you want to get older? Like that's a good thing. Like
older and better. Okay. Yes, more mature.
Alternative.
More getting young, like Benjamin Button. Are we getting younger? What is the thing here? No.
I mean, if you're not getting older, you start aging. That's not ideal.
Gotcha. That took way too long, didn't it? Sorry. Get old, whatever you do. Yes, I'm too busy taking meds. All right. We just get up close and personal in the podcast today. Woo! So in the putting it together part 4, one of the chapters is all about helping teachers understand the different kinds of tasks that really work well. So we talk about rich tasks. We also do what I'll call a walkthrough with those rich tasks. So you get a chance to kind of feel what we mean. Sometimes teachers will say, oh, you're doing that discovery thing where you're going to send them off to, like figure it out on their own. And once they've kind of messed around with some manipulatives, then you're going to tell them how to do it. So that's not what we mean. And I can understand why that might be your only kind of guess about what we might mean by a rich task. But actually, we're going to walk through what it looks and feels like in 2 different classrooms with 2 different teachers. And shout out to Kim because she's one of the teachers. So we have some video of her doing a division task with kids. Holly Gabrielson, Thede, wonderful person who we worked with in the past, wonderful teacher, has a problem string for multiplication with a 4th grade group. And you really get a chance to feel what the kids are doing when you guys launched these rich tasks, and then had a congress with them. Really nicely done. And so again, you get a feel for those rich tasks. Also, we define problem strings and get into more detail about what they are and aren't. We also talk about routines and our favorite routines in grades 3, 4, and 5. Shout out to I Have You Need, which was Kim's invention. We have a whole section in there about how to use it, and extensions and iterations of using that particular routine and some other routines. Besides the chapter on lessons that I just talked about, there's also a whole chapter on models and modeling, which I think might be one of the most confused bits of math education these days. It's not just about manipulatives, but it is, and the best use of manipulatives, but also using models that are really good to understand the situation and what's happening in the problem. Aren't necessarily the same models as tools for building relationships, aren't necessarily the same models that are really good for computing. And so we dive into what the differences of those are. We have some Venn diagrams about helping sort of separate and get more clear on how to use models to help students understand the math, but also to develop mental models in their heads, mental maps about the relationships. So really excited about that. And then lastly, in the part 4, we have a chapter called Moving Forward. And I'm kind of really happy about this chapter. If you push me on one more thing that I was really happy about, I might have said that we kind of split it into 3 descriptions of readers. And so you might, when you read the book, you might be ready to shift some of your teaching and your thinking. And so we give you some ideas of things to do if you're ready to shift. But you might be ready to turn. So shift is like this little shift, and turn is like you're turning. And we give you some maybe more adventurous things to try. And like, no, like I'm ready to turn. Like, give me some things to do. You might be ready to dive in. You might have read that, and you might be like some of the folks we work with, like Susan comes to mind, who once she sort of heard what we were doing, she just dove in hook, line, and sinker, and was math is Figureoutable, 180 days out of the school year. And so in each of those sections, we give you some bite-offable, manageable things to go do, find successes, and then next places to go. So I'm kind of excited about that idea of moving forward with next steps that are actually doable for you in your classroom with your kids.
Yeah. And whatever amount you're ready to do, because it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if you've ever listened to the podcast, you know that we have all the words about everything, but this is the book that puts it all together. This is the book that I wish I had 20 years ago when we first met. I'm so happy that, on this journey, you've kind of like compiled it and summarized it and kind of thought through all the things. I think this really unpacks the most important things that you need to know for your classroom as a 3-5 teacher. And I'm thrilled that it's out in the world, and I am patiently waiting for my copy.
Well, so am I. So I haven't quite, mine hasn't shipped to my house yet. As soon as I do, I'll sign it and bring you one.
Okay, that sounds good.
Hey, y'all, if you're listening and you're a K2 teacher, the K2 book that has exactly everything that we just talked about, but for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade teachers, make sure that you grab that one. It's already out. If you're a 6-8 teacher, know it is coming.
Yeah.
That book, we've already turned in the 2nd draft. It is ready to come out September. I'm pretty sure it's September of 2026. And the 9-12 book we are currently writing. And so that will be coming out in about a year. So just know that we have you in mind. We can only write so fast and get everything down. But just y'all keep making math Figureoutable. We are so grateful for you and the efforts that you put into making your classrooms places where students are building and becoming mathematicians. And we thank you for tuning in and teaching more and more real math. To find out more about the Math is Figureoutable movement, dive into the book that we talked about today, but also visit mathisfigureoutable.com. Thanks for spreading the word that math is figureoutable.
If you loved today's episode and want to go deeper, Pam's new book, Developing Mathematical Reasoning for Grades 3-5, launches in March.
This is the grade band specific follow-up to the foundational book we released last year. It gives you the exact strategies, classroom tasks, and models to help your students build real mathematical reasoning in grades 3-5.
Head to bit.ly/DMR35 lowercase pre-order to pre-order your copy. And hey, if you teach K2, that book's already out.
Y'all, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Keep making math figureoutable.